What's going on? And welcome back to D+Pad Life. And today I want to talk about the PlayStation 5. A lot of what I hear about the PlayStation 5 nowadays is how this generation has been lackluster, how there's not enough exclusives, how the games that come out aren't that great, and they don't compare to the games we used to get in the past. And while I could understand that perspective, and I certainly agree to an extent, there's something that I think is going missed by people. I think there's something about the PlayStation 5 that not enough people are giving it props for. And on one hand, if you're really focused on what it is that this system is doing new, and as far as like if your focus is on the desire for brand new content, I could understand maybe feeling like it's letting you down. But one thing that comes to mind with the PlayStation 5 for me, as far as like brand new stuff, is its quality, not quantity. Now, that might sound contradictory because I did just make the remark on people talking about how this generation hasn't been that great, even with the quality. But I beg to differ. I think people seem to really like Spider Man 2. People seem to really like Ghost of Yote. People seem to really like Death Stranding 2. And the list does go on. It may not be the most, lengthy, expansive list, but there certainly are a ton of games that are exclusive to the PS5, or at the very least, games that launched on PS5 first before getting ported to like the PC, for example. And if you're willing to expand your horizons a little bit, even think of stuff like God of War Ragnarok. People want to say that doesn't count because it came out on PS4 also, but then I'd ask you, did you play it on PS4? Probably not. You probably played it on your PS5. Now, just because they released a lesser version on the PS4 to make sure that, you know, other gamers that haven't quite gotten to the PS5 yet got a chance to play it, does not mean that it doesn't really count as a PlayStation 5. I won't go as far as to say exclusive, because obviously it's not that, but a PlayStation 5 game. It was very clearly developed, with the PS5 in mind. And there are features that are exclusive to the PS5 version and performances that are exclusive to the PS5 version. So maybe take into consideration what brought me to the PS5. So I waited a while. The PS5 was at least a couple years old by the time I got mine. It might have even been about 3 years old. I was really waiting to get the right deal on it. But what brought me to the PS5 wasn't the idea of PS5 games. Now, that might sound kind of silly. That might sound kind of odd. But it was more so the fact that the PlayStation 5 is the best PlayStation 4 money can buy. And we seem to be at a point now where I understand wanting more from the current generations. I get that. But what it boils down to is if you're not getting that from the current generations, don't forget about the past generations. And the PlayStation 4, it just seems to be forgotten already. It seems like people don't remember that. That is one of the greatest systems ever made. And if you want the best PS4 money can buy, you're looking at it. And so for me, when it came to getting a PlayStation 5, it was always, I want the best PlayStation 4 that money can buy. And I want it to play PS5 games. And by coming to it with that mindset and that approach, I have not been even the slightest bit disappointed by this system. For me, the PlayStation 5 has been a blast since the very beginning. It has been so much fun. And it's kind of sucky when I hear that people just aren't having good of a time with it. To me, it is an extraordinary system. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And when it comes to comparing the PlayStation 5 controller to the PlayStation 4 controller, I mean, to me, it's not even close. It's not even close. It's like light and day. We thought the PS4 controller was an upgrade compared to the PS3 controller, which it is. But man, when you hold the DualSense, that's what it's called, right? The DualSense? Is it? I call it the DualShock 5. I think it might just be called the DualSense. But when you hold that compared to this, there's no going back. Absolutely no going back. In fact, I'm going to get a dongle for my PS3 so that I can use this controller on my PS3. I don't ever want to use a PS4 controller unless I have to, which I play a lot of PSVR, and the PlayStation 4 controller has this light up here, which is needed for some of the games. So that's why this is still around. But the PlayStation 5 controller is absolutely fantastic. Now, you could argue, that, well, they could have just made a controller with this form factor for the PlayStation 4. You know what I mean? You can't really judge a whole console based off how good the controller is. But in this circumstance, yes, you can, because that's just the way it played out. This did not get a PlayStation 4 version. This is the PS5 controller, and it's the best controller that Sony has ever made. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, with that being said, I think that gamers and what they expect and what they want is, I don't know, man. I hate to put so much blame on the gamers because I know the industry is not in good health right now. And I know that there's a lot wrong with the industry. There really and truly is. And we could focus on that. And I'm sure in future videos we'll discuss that. But does that really bring you to a state of joy? Does that bring you to a state of elation? Does that get you excited? No, if you focus on the negative, it's going to be negative. So what I really want to do is focus on the positive. So I'm going to take you to my games and just kind of give you an idea on what you can really do with the PlayStation 5. So something to pay attention to here. I mean, look, everything that you are looking at on this bookshelf can be played on PS5. Every single thing you're looking at here. And there's so much more room for growth. I mean, if I really wanted to be a hardcore collector and grab every game that interests me or that I even want, I would have 2 of these bookcases, and it still may not be enough space. If you keep the PS4 in mind when you're talking about PS5, there is so much good stuff to play, so much. And many games perform better on PS5, whether or not they got a PS5 exclusive patch, quicker load times, quicker save times, maybe even quicker installations. I actually can't verify that. That would require some research. I'm not sure, but I am so happy with the performance of these PS4 games on my PS5. And for people that want to talk about how the PS5 doesn't have any games, I mean, my collection begs to differ. And I understand that another thing going on in the industry right now that's upsetting for people is the amount of ports and remakes. And I don't know, to me, that's a topic for a separate video. But if you are willing to embrace that, there is just so much to enjoy. But let's ignore ports and remakes. Well, at the very least remakes, because I think ports are extremely valid. For example, the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. Now, granted, I understand why it rubs people the wrong way. It's from last gen, sure. But you come down here, and down here, when PlayStation 4 came out, you had Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. This was a PS3 and 360 game, and this is hands down the best way to play this game on consoles. And maybe at the time people had similar feelings, but I, for one, am extremely grateful that there is definitive versions of games. Yeah, you could settle for fewer frames. You could settle for lower quality texture models, longer load times, things of that nature. Or you could get an upgraded version. And I personally love having that option. I mean, we're looking at one right here, Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection. Little bit of an exception because it is a collection of games. But once you play this, I want you to play this and then try to go back and play the PS3 versions. Tell me how that goes for you. You're not going to enjoy it, man. It's not nearly as enjoyable to play. It's not nearly as nice. Those games, yeah, you can go back and play them and you'll adjust to some of their shortcomings. But this here is undeniably the best way to play them. We're looking at another one, Valkyria Chronicles Remastered, another port of a PS3 game. And that was a PS3 exclusive, mind you. And now it gets brought to the PS4, a console that's sold much better. And it gives so many other people the opportunity to check this game out who aren't ever going to go out and hunt for a PS3. They're not ever going to go out and hunt for old PS3 games. Ports absolutely have their place. And so with that in mind, I think of a game like Callisto Protocol, which, Yeah, people gave it a lot of grief. It wasn't exactly what people wanted. I feel like it's a really good game, but it was advertised as a little too much of like, this is the next Dead Space, when in reality, they actually don't feel the same as far as how they play. So there's some similar mechanics, but there's a way more focus on melee, which Dead Space had, but I wouldn't call it a focus. The port of Crisis Core is really great. The port of Final Fantasy VII is really great. Even the GTA 5 port is wonderful. I think it's better than the PS4 version. I obviously own a lot of ports because I'm a big fan of ports. I'm a big fan of ports. I'm a big fan of remakes. I'm a big fan of remasters. And we'll talk about that in a future video, But I mean, look how strong these options are. And you could say, well, you could just get all these games on PS4, which you couldn't get Alan Wake 2 on PS4. You couldn't get Final Fantasy 16 on PS4. You couldn't get Horizon 2 on PS4. You couldn't get Metal Gear Solid Delta on PS4. I actually don't even think the RoboCop games got PS4 releases. And, maybe my, it's kind of funny as I'm speaking out loud, maybe my collection isn't exactly the best example. I mean, you got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, not a PS4 game. You could play it on PC, but I don't play PC games. A lot of people don't play PC games, right? So, oh man, like Uncharted, The Lost Legacy, and Uncharted 4. Leaning back to my original point, if you look at the PS5 as the best PS4 money can buy, ports are a godsend. You get to play superior versions of amazing PS4 games. And I don't think that needs to be lost on people. I get wanting new experiences. I understand wanting to see the industry move forward and not rely so much on the past. I get it. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that these aren't great. It doesn't mean that these don't have a place. And it doesn't mean that these are any lesser of what they are. And I mean, it really boils down to the demand, right? Like gamers, what they want from the industry, what gamers want from the industry is innovation, constant innovation, better performance, better graphics, new mechanics, new stories, something innovative, something new. But what they fail to realize is we have pushed this industry to such a point and desired so much more from this industry and demanded so much more from this industry to such a point that now we're facing the true reality of that. Incredibly long development cycles, really expensive games, which raises the risk of these companies. Now you want them to make a game that's going to blow your socks off, but it costs them tens of millions of dollars to do this. And granted, you could argue that maybe it's also a matter of how their companies are ran. And yeah, that's an industry problem as a whole, and maybe it needs some adjusting. But I also think it's a reflection of the reality. I don't think game development is as simple as some people claim it to be or want it to be. Maybe it can be to a degree, but here's the thing. Like Expedition 33 Claire Obscura, that game that came out not that long ago. It blew people's minds, right? Because it was so good and it was made by such a small team. However, I don't think every game can be that. I think people might want that to be, but you're definitely going to see different levels of quality coming out. And are you actually as open-minded as you say you are? Silent Hill 2 comes to mind. Silent Hill 2, I thought, was really great, but it also got bashed by a lot of people for saying it feels almost too much like a lot of it mechanically just feels archaic in a way, that it doesn't feel advanced. It doesn't feel as modern as it should. They'll call it beautiful, but they'll say mechanically it's extremely basic. And so I think, it really boils down to, where are your expectations? What is it that you are expecting of the generation? And does that match with the reality of what you're getting? Are you getting in your own way of enjoying what's in front of you right now? And unfortunately, I see a lot of that. I see a lot of gamers that just fail to take a step back and look at the plethora of options that lie before you. And I wouldn't be shocked if anyone watching this is looking at something similar, whether it's digitally or physically. You likely have a bunch of PS4 games that are absolutely great lying around that you've just decided, since they're not the newest thing, there's no reason to play them. And I don't agree with that. If you're going to collect and you're going to keep games, isn't the point because you love them and you're going to want to play them again someday? Or isn't the point to get to those games that you missed out on? The PS4 is one of the strongest libraries of any game system. And for people to be complaining that there's just not enough content, I mean, granted, new content, sure. But overall, all I hear about is people talking about their backlogs and how they have so many games that they'll never get to. And then you complain that there's not enough new. It's like, get to the games you're not playing then. And the PS5 just offers so many wonderful, amazing options. So, with all that being said, I love the PS5. I think the PS5 is absolutely brilliant. I think it's an amazing system. And it's interesting. You look at my collection and you don't see a whole lot of, let's say you could fit the exclusives on maybe a couple hands because, there's not a whole lot, but I don't even own them all. I don't even own them all. Like, where's Spider-Man 2? I got Miles Morales. I got the first Spider-Man on PS4, but I don't even have Spider-Man 2. I've played it because where I live, the libraries are awesome, and I was able to just borrow the game from the library and beat it that way. And so now I'm just waiting for the price to get down a little lower. I'm not in as big of a hurry to grab it, but man, the PS5 rules. And so I'll close it off there. I'd like to hear in the comments what you love about the PS5, what you enjoy about the PS5. There's enough videos bashing it. There's enough videos bashing this current gen. There's enough videos all about dissatisfaction. I'd like to hear what you're enjoying about the PS5. What has it brought that you really do appreciate? What's the last game you played on it? Did you like it? Was it fun? Let me know below. Anyways, appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I'd appreciate that. And if you enjoyed hanging out, consider subscribing. I release content every few days or so, usually 2 to 3 videos a week, and I'm really loving this process. I don't think I'll be going anywhere anytime soon, so appreciate you for watching and hanging out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.